Welcome to Vacuum Wars, and to our review of the Dreame Aqua 10 Ultra Roller Robot Vacuum. It's the latest flagship robot vacuum from one of the fastest growing manufacturers in the world, and it's also one of their first attempts at a robot vacuum that uses a roller style mop pad instead of the more traditional dual spinning style mop pads. It's packed with all the latest technology, including some genuinely innovative upgrades from Dreame's previous models. We bought one for ourselves and have been testing it in all kinds of ways over the past several weeks, and while I found that in most ways it lives up to its hype and it's certainly a top 5 contender on the Vacuum Wars top 20 list, in other ways there are some quirks and small issues that did affect its overall rankings. Not deal breakers, but things that potential buyers should be aware of. In this video, I'll go over all the pros and cons, so links in the description, and let's get started. Probably the headline feature and one of the biggest pros with the Dreame Aqua 10 Ultra Roller is right there in the name, its new roller style mop pad. There's been a steady shift in the robot vacuum world toward these roller style mop systems and away from the dual rotating or fixed mop pad systems. In our tests, we do tend to see slightly better mopping performance from these rollers, but I think the real reason manufacturers are moving to them is that they're able to handle wet spills much better and keep the pads more clean as they mop. The way it works is that the roller is sprayed with clean water and solution in real time, while the dirty water is constantly scraped off and collected in a small onboard tank, which is later emptied into the larger dirty water tank in the base. It's a clever system that allows it to deal with things like spills in a way that robots without a dirty water tank can't. One standout feature with the Aqua 10's mopping system, and this is pretty rare, is what Dreame calls AutoSeal carpet protection, where when the robot detects carpet or transitions towards carpet, it shields its mop roller with a plastic guard to keep your carpets from getting damp. This is Dreame's alternative to mop lifting or detachable mop pad designs on dual spinning mop pad systems, and while some rollers also lift, this method is probably a more sure way to make sure your carpets stay dry. This feature seemed to work well in our tests, though I have heard some reviewers say that it's not a foolproof system either. Consistent with this focus on better mopping hygiene, when it returns to its multifunctional dock to charge, the Aqua 10 automatically washes its roller at a much higher temperature than we've seen, 212 degrees Fahrenheit or 100 degrees Celsius. Another feature that I haven't seen advertised before is something Dreame calls FluffRoll Tech. Basically, there's a small secondary module behind the roller that spins in the opposite direction, which keeps the roller fibers fluffed up so they stay effective longer. Its mop roller also has an auto extend feature where when the robot senses it's close to an edge, it will extend to the side for better coverage. And in our mopping performance tests, the Aqua 10 Ultra Roller was significantly above average, like with our standard dried on stain test, and it managed to get that high score while using only about half the normal water usage. And that's good because it means it's less likely to leave streaks. And its combined mopping performance score was well above average. It wasn't the best score we've ever seen, but it's definitely one of the better ones. Another area where the Aqua 10 Ultra Roller really impressed me was with obstacle avoidance. It's actually the first company in a long time to tell us what kind of chip it's using. In this case, they say it's an NVIDIA-powered chip. They also say it's trained via reinforcement learning, which is an AI term that in this context probably just means it improves a bit as it navigates through your house over time. The obstacle avoidance hardware includes 2 RGB cameras, a 3D structured light sensor, and Dreame says it's been trained on 240 different object types, which is one of the highest numbers I've seen advertised. They've also really emphasized that they'll be pushing regular firmware updates to improve the obstacle avoidance over time, which could be tied to that reinforcement learning claim. In any case, it's some of the most ambitious marketing language we've seen in the obstacle avoidance category. In our various obstacle avoidance tests, it got a 21 out of a possible 24, which is tied for 4th place overall. And if it truly does improve as it learns, that's pretty exciting. The robot itself has a lot of pros. It uses Dreame's new Hyperstream Duo brush as its main brush roll, and that works in tandem with its automatically extending side brush to pick up debris from both hard floors and carpets very effectively. In our carpet deep clean test, where we embed sand into medium pile carpet, it picked up 86%, which is about 10% higher than average. It was also above average with our 2.5-inch pet hair pickup test, where we flatten hair into carpet to simulate real-world conditions. Its crevice pickup test results were about average, but overall, its vacuuming and sweeping performance was exactly what you would expect from a high-end robot vacuum in this price range. One of Dreame's strongest features across its entire new lineup is threshold climbing, and the Aqua 10 Ultra Roller continues that trend with its Pro Leap system. It has one of the best single-tier threshold climbing specs at 42 millimeters, and Dreame claims that with dual-tier thresholds, it can reach up to 80 millimeters. It does this by lifting its chassis and then using two smaller wheels that can raise its nose up even higher. In our tests, it was exceptionally good in this area, much better than many of its competitors. That said, it wasn't quite as good as Dreame's own L50 Ultra. For example, in a particularly tough real-world test in a sunroom at my house, the Aqua 10 once got stuck on the threshold. In another occasion, it was able to get over the threshold but not able to make it back, where the L50 Ultra was able to do that. It's still one of the best in the business for threshold climbing, but the L50 is just slightly ahead. I've already talked a bit about its multifunctional dock, but there are a few other pros worth mentioning. In addition to it being a charging station, the dock also empties the robot's internal dustbin into a fairly large 3-liter disposable bag, which Dreame says is good for about 100 days before needing to be replaced, though of course your mileage may vary. It automatically dispenses detergent, dries the roller with hot air, washes it with hot water as we mentioned, and it refills the robot's clean water tank, so it provides a lot of hands-free maintenance, though the dock is a bit bigger and heavier than most. The final pro I'll mention is the app. Dreame's app has quickly become one of my favorites. It creates accurate maps right out of the box, and it's just easy to use. It gives you tons of control over how the robot behaves. You can fine-tune everything from how it empties the bin to how aggressive the obstacle avoidance is. It has a built-in virtual assistant, live video monitoring, and some clever pet checkup features where it can go look for your pet without turning on the vacuum motor. It supports multi-level mapping, virtual barriers, and just about every advanced scheduling feature you would expect from a flagship model. Moving on to the negative stuff, and probably the biggest con for me was its navigation efficiency and battery life. The Aqua 10 Ultra Roller uses a retractable top-mounted LiDAR turret, which is actually a pretty smart design. It solves the problem of having LiDAR on the top for accurate mapping, but it still allows it to duck under furniture. When it detects that it can fit between something, it retracts the LiDAR turret lower and then extends it again once it's clear. The problem is that in our navigation tests, it was significantly below average with navigation efficiency. In the studio, it cleaned just 0.62 square meters per minute, and in the home test, it was even slower at 0.5 square meters per minute. And those are some pretty slow results, especially for a robot in this price range. It just seems to hesitate a bit when making route decisions, almost like it's overthinking it. It wasn't random or sloppy with its coverage, it just took longer to do it. That slower pace wouldn't be such a big deal if its battery efficiency were good, but that was another weak point. It used about 1% of its battery per minute in the various battery efficiency tests that we did, which is below average. And when you combine those two things, slow navigation and inefficient battery usage, you get much less area covered per charge. In our estimates, it averaged about 684 square feet per charge in studio conditions compared to an average of about 1,100. Of course, it does have recharge and resume, so it can handle larger spaces in multiple runs, but if you have a big floor plan and you like your robot to finish everything in one go, that could be a downside. Another issue was hair processing. As I mentioned, it uses Dreame's new Hyperstream Duo Brush, which I've generally liked on other Dreame robots, but for whatever reason, in our 7-inch hair tests, which we ran 3 times, 2 of those times the hair got caught in the intake rather than being pulled through into the dustbin. Only once did it fully process it correctly. Keep in mind these are torture tests with much harder conditions than you would normally encounter, but I wouldn't be surprised if users report hair clogging issues. Speaking of which, the dustbin itself is pretty small at 220 milliliters, probably because the space was needed for that retractable LiDAR. Anyway, that's about half the size of a typical dustbin, so if you have a lot of pet hair, you'll probably need to run it several times a week to stay ahead of clogs because of these two issues. Another con has to do with quality control issues. A growing number of users have reported significant water leaks with the Dreame Aqua 10 Ultra Roller, particularly during the self-cleaning cycle at the base. This leakage typically occurs around the roller assembly, sometimes leading to water pooling under the base station, and though I didn't notice this with the unit that we bought during testing at the studio or at my house, but Dreame has acknowledged the issue and is investigating the root cause, which is likely related to hardware tolerances or seal design. They're advising customers to contact support with a video of the leak and pursue a replacement or a refund if it's under warranty. So after adding up all the scores, the Dreame Aqua 10 Ultra Roller did end up making the Vacuum Wars Top 20 Robot Vacuum list on our website, and it's ranking pretty high. But interestingly, it didn't quite score as high as Dreame's other recent releases, like the L50, currently number 1, or even the much cheaper L40S Ultra AE, and even the Mova Z60, which in many ways is exactly the same thing as the Dreame Aqua 10, is currently outranking it. The review on that one should be out soon. I wouldn't call this disappointing because the Dreame Aqua 10 obviously is a great robot vacuum, but some of the issues I mentioned here, like its slower navigation and battery life, its small dustbin and hair processing issues, did end up hurting its rankings a bit compared to Dreame's other recent models. Still, it's a strong product, especially if you're looking for top-tier mopping, really great obstacle avoidance, and solid vacuuming. Links in the description, and be sure to subscribe to Vacuum Wars before you leave. Thanks for watching. All of the links in the description are updated regularly to reflect our current favorite vacuums in multiple categories. You'll also find links to the Vacuum Wars website in the description, where we have more detailed lists of our favorite products, like our new Top 20 Robot Vacuums list, which is updated weekly.